My name's Jim Risley. I'm from New York in America, and I've been in Korea for a year and a half. I worked at two different Hagwons and now university.
And when you were at the Hagwon, what age groups?
It varied, starting with kindergarten all the way up to like 6th grade.
Okay.
My name's Ben Dixon and from Scotland. I studied history at university. I've been in Korea this is my 5th year, halfway through my 5th year, and for the first 2 years I was in a Hagwon, and then the last 2.5 years I've been in university.
Okay. And when you were in the Hagwon, what age groups did you teach?
Majority of classes were elementary school children, maybe 4th grade to 6th grade, an occasional middle school class, and a kind of conversation class, which was usually high school students most of the time.
Okay, and Joe?
Yeah, my name is Churung and I'm from Korea and I studied early childhood English education for my master. Yeah, and I've been owning this school for 7 years now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you own the school that we're doing the interview in,
Yeah.
the discussion in, and what kind of school is this?
Yeah, this is for the education, English.
English education?
Yeah, English education.
Is it like public school or
This is a private,
private?
it's like tutoring.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay, Hagwon. And John McConnell. I've been in Korea for 6 years now. I've taught in 3 public schools, 2 Hagwons, and this will be my 2nd year in university. My degree is in media studies, and this is for my master's program. And what we're going to talk about is first Korea's education system as a whole, like in general, and then how it affects English education.
Well, my name's Chad Parsons. I lived in Korea going on 6 years now. My degree is from Susquehanna University, and it's a Bachelor of Science of International Business.
Have you taught in?
I started out in the Hagwons, the academies. Did that for 3 years, 3.5 years, and then university the last 2 years, teaching university. And I've also done a bunch of privates, one-on-one tutoring, done nursery school, I've done business English, places like Samsung and things like that. Mm-hmm. So every age range you can think of, basically.
Okay.
My name is Joe. I'm student of Gongju University. I'm 22 years old. I am studying about dog training.
Dog training?
Yeah, dog training.
Okay. Leo?
Hi, my name is Leo and 25 years old in Korean age. And my major is assemble the bone piece.
Bone pieces.
Yes. And that's all.
That's all. Okay. Okay. Marvin? Superstar?
Hi, I'm Marvin. I'm a superstar. I'm studying in Gongju University. My major is experimental animal,
Look at the experimentation with animals.
but I wanna be world star.
You want to be a world star.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You want to be a world star. And what year are you, Marvin?
I'm 22 years old.
That's your year. That's how old you are. But in university, what year are you?
Second grade.
Second year. So sophomore. Yeah. Sophomore is 2nd year. And Leo, what year are you?
Third grade.
3rd grade. So junior. You're a junior.
Yes.
And June.
Yeah, I'm also 2nd grade.
Okay, so you're a sophomore. All right. Dan, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Ben. My, I study Gongju University. My major wild animal care.
I'm Rosario Grace Cruz. I'm a Filipino and I am a pharmacist. My major is BS Pharmacy.
BS in pharmacy. And how long have you been in Korea?
Oh, I've been here for about a year and a half.
Okay.
My name is Amanda. I'm from America and I studied psychology. Then I came to Korea and I've been here for a year and a half. And I teach elementary school and I teach them English.
My name is Jisoo and I'm from Korea.
My name is Michael. I'm from Canada. I have BA English literature and I've been in Korea almost 8 years.
And where do you teach now? Like what
I
environment?
teach at Sunshine University.
It goes automatically right to mine.
Communication comedian, honors, teaching school here, elementary school. Maybe 6 years.
I kind of want to put my pen in, but it's all
Yes, my name is Adam Ron. I came here in 2002. My undergraduate degree was public administration and history. And my master's degree was English literature. I've been teaching out of Korea for many years.
It's been my observation that Korea as a whole is very, very competitive. And the overall objective for education is to get like this score. Everything seems to be about a score. The entrance exam into university. And so I think that has directly affected English education because their focus is just on the score. Yet now, since Korea is becoming more multicultural, they're being forced to be more communicative and communicate more with people around the world, and so they're kind of lagging behind in English communication because they just focused on the test.
I think that this test is very important in order to get into like the top schools, and it is very competitive. Puts a lot of stress on the students and the teachers as well to prepare them for this big test. I think that the students don't really have a lot of like free time that maybe you'd see other students have to like do their own thing, maybe be creative, like do other stuff than just studying. But it's hard for me to tell if this test has made their English level gone down or up because they're kind of just studying for the test. I'm not sure it's been a motivator or something that's kind of inhibited their English ability.
What do you think, Ben?
I think I agree with lots of what we've said. Like I think students are under extreme pressure from a very early age in school to basically, and it's all aimed towards getting into a particular university or a particular level of university. And I think that process starts very early, from about the age of 10 or 11 years old. Parents are thinking about their child's university that they're going to make, and so that the children, they don't have a lot of free time because after they're finished their their normal school. They'll go to a private academy and they'll spend a lot of time there, and particularly into high school they'll be there all day from the first thing in the morning until they go to bed. They'll be in school.
What is your take on the system? Like, how does it work? The system in general, they're trying to just prepare, at least not the adults are totally different, but just speaking in general from kindergarten up to getting into a university, getting into high school, finishing high school, all that, at least English studying, it's just to pass that one test. Basically the Korean version of the SAT. Right. It is just pushed. Just everything is just centered into learning grammar. They've started doing a little bit more speaking, but it's very regimented. It seems.
Mm-hmm. Even in an elementary school, one thing that kind of freaked me out when I first started teaching real elementary schools, kids are punished for having low scores and rewarded with gifts and privileges and games and things like that for high scores. Now, I don't really remember that in Canada. I mean, in Canada, if I get an A, that was good and, yay. But I wouldn't get, a chocolate bar or be able to have game day or something. And if I had a bad score, I wouldn't be, I wouldn't have my hand slapped and have someone yell at me and have to go sit in the babo corner and, some of the older male teachers will just call them, are you an idiot? And verbally abuse them, whatever, that sort of thing. I think that's more of an older generational thing, but it does still go on that even for those elementary tests that don't really mean anything, they want to start early to really push on the kids how important test scores are.
I know from working in the elementary schools that there is a big emphasis on testing once you hit the 6th grade. Because in the 6th grade, you have a huge test to determine what kind of middle school you're going to go on to. So throughout the school year, when students are learning the curriculum, there's really no time for questioning because they're trying to get through the curriculum so that by the time they reach the last grade of the school, they're prepared for this huge test. And much of the Korean education system relies on the scores of your tests to determine what kind of school you can get into, and everything is about your schooling. So once you finally reach university, it's like a social status if you end up in a good university or a bad university, and it all starts from elementary.
The class is divided like a student's group and not a student's group.
Okay.
Struggling groups. And another subject is English and math.
Does English and math are different levels?
Yes. Because English and math are very important, and their level is so different. So, but other Korean history or science, they are just fine. Everybody can understand.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that's good that they separate and put them.
And you also have, I know in Yesan there's 2 levels of high school. For example, from graduating from middle school, there's the better high school and the less.
Yeah, this is a small town, so it's only two high schools. But if you go to bigger city, there are lots of high schools, and the high schools has levels. So
entry level.
Yeah, entry levels. So good students can go to this school and like grouping.
So okay, so now how do they decide? Oh well, this student is at this level and this student is at this level.
Because we all have the same test.
You have the same. So it comes down to a test.
Yeah.
But it seemed like in elementary school they're all at the same. They're all together, same level. They all go up together. But then when you get to middle school, you have to take a test. And however you do on that test determines you go to this school or that school.
But you still progress with your age.
Yes.
Within that system. the level of your education is higher or lower, but you will just do the 6 years, 3 years of middle school and 3 years of high school. That's it.
And so is that the same at the university level, where there are there's this level university and this level university?
Yeah, of course. If you know, at the end of the third grade of high school, we had all our tests the same day, same time, the whole country in Korea. And yeah, everybody know, if you get this score, then you can go to this university, and if you get this score, then you can every universities are so like level.
At certain levels.
Yes.
And so what's the ultimate, the best students, I guess, that get the highest score, they go to the best university. What is the best university in Korea?
Most favorite of Seoul University.
Seoul National?
Yeah, National University.
Tell me more about the test to get into university. Why is that so important?
Because the chance is just one time.
You only get one opportunity.
After third, the high school grade, we have to have the test. Yeah. If we didn't get good score in the test, we have to wait 1 year more. That time we can go to high school and we can go to university also. We are just nothing about it.
Well, basically, the Korean SAT it's one shot only. You get one chance. So, basically, comparing the American version to the Korean version, the American version, obviously, if you don't do a good job, you can take it again. Right. The next week or 2 weeks later, whatever. The Korean version, you take it one time, and everybody takes it together.
Yeah.
So, you've basically worked 18 years, studied 18 years of your life for this one chance. And this one test basically determines whether you go to Yale or you go to DeVry Institute.
Right. What is the difference between somebody that graduates, say, Seoul National, and somebody that graduates from Gongju? What's the difference?
Personal mobility is
The people think is different. So if someone graduates from Seoul University, almost people think he is good person. He is smart. He is better than Gongju.
Yeah. What kind of pressures do you think that the students have?
Well, I think the one thing that I've picked up on is that, you mentioned it earlier, it's competition. Like when I was trying to get to university, I was set. My university, I applied to a university and they came back to me and they said, get this grade, get these grades in these subjects and you can get a place at this university. Whereas in Korea, from what I know, it's more like you have to better the other students in your class. Your score has to be higher than the other students in order to get to the university. Whereas for me, it was irrelevant what all my classmates got. As long as I got what my university asked, that was good enough for me. And so I think there's a lot of pressure on the students because of that, competition to beat their friends basically, which is it's unfortunate.
Yeah, and well, you all.
The early 1990s, we are a colonist of Japan. In 1984, we had a Korean War, and the Korea has nothing. Everything was destroyed, and no house. Nothing was in Korea. But so to survive in this country, people just tried to their best, hard working, and some people just found the studying is the best way to succeed in this country. So they studied a lot and a lot and a lot, and they became they became rich enough to eat and sleep, survive. Because many people died from disease or hunger. So other people saw, oh, there is a good way to succeed. So most people just study, okay, studying is the only way you can survive. So it's like doing that in 1970s. There started to factories on here, and it was developing. Yeah.
So education was a way out
Yeah.
of the situation they were in.
Yeah. And so we need to do quickly. We didn't have enough time. We didn't have a farm. We didn't have anything. We need to do something very quickly. So everybody is doing very fast and quickly, and it's like it made the atmosphere like competition society, I think. So not only English education, I think every general things we have competition. Yeah.
So it's become part of your society. It's competitive aspect.
Right. So I think Korea is quite famous. It's a quite successful case to become a developed country, for a very short time. Because in 1984, when in Korean War, many people came to Korea to help us because we don't have food. Lots of children died. But now we are helping other countries' people and babies, children. And I think our system is quite good, and our nations doing competition is quite stressful, but it helped us, our country, very good, I think.
You kept saying 1984, do you mean 1948?
1948.
Yeah, 1948. I was like, wow, that's really. It's okay. So the circumstances of the war turned Korea into it made it even more competitive, and to get, you said, faster.
Yeah.
And you had to do it very quickly. And I guess that to me that explains why. It seems to always be fast. Do it fast. Do it fast. Do it fast.
Yeah.
Things are built very fast.
Yeah, and people started to enjoy their life. Before my mom and dad's generation, they don't know. Most people have never gone to other country or traveling. But nowadays they started to go to the country, and they enjoy their life. They go somewhere on their holiday or weekends. It's very, very new things. There was nothing like that before.
I mean, you get high school students that are spending 11 hours in school, and I feel really sorry for them, but I feel more sorry for the 11-year-olds, 5th grades in elementary school, and they're studying their butts off. They really are studying really hard, and 3 hours after school finishes, another 3 or 4 hours in Hogwarts. Really.
The education started from not elementary school, it's from kindergarten. So there are public kindergarten and private kindergarten, and there's extremely expensive English kindergarten, something like. The money fee is 3 times, 4 times more.
Yeah.
But there are so many people waiting to go to that expensive kindergarten.
And the problem here also, I think, teaching in privates, teaching one-on-one tutoring for extra money, is, I get one private, and then all of their friends' parents call me and try to get in.
Right.
And it's that keeping up with the Joneses thing, and it's just stupid. Who cares what, we do it too, but it's crazy. I have a private, we went and got one student, right? In this one complex, we ended up getting calls from 7 different parents.
Wow.
So we had time to do 4 of them. We did 4 of them. and then one of them quit, and then 3 other ones quit. So I still have 1.
Right.
So, you know, it goes from 1
status
to 7, back to 1 because you know then they all switched from me to this other Hagwon that just opened that was, you know, and then one of them just called the other day and we're like, no, we're too busy. So obviously that Hagwon didn't work. But the one stayed with me, and it's that whole thing of okay, well, what's this person doing? Okay, well, let's do it this way. You know, it just, I don't know.
It's a status thing.
It is. It is. It's the Mercedes. It's the.
In elementary school, how long were you in school, like regular school? Yeah, how long? How many hours in regular school?
About English?
No, just in general.
From 9 a.m. until 4 or 5 p.m.
In elementary school?
Elementary?
Yeah, elementary school.
It depends on grade.
Depends on the grade.
This average. Middle school, high school, just.
I think 2. But I remember the second grade. Until second grade is finished to 2 p.m.
2 p.m. What about like say 5th grade?
50.
So yeah, 5th grade.
Middle school.
Grade 5. How long would you stay at school if you were in grade 5 elementary school?
4.
Till 4 o'clock? Till 3 p.m. Okay.
I remember just 4.
3 or 4. Okay, and you start at 9.
Yeah.
Okay. How about middle school? How long are you in school there?
4.
Until 4 o'clock.
4:30.
4:30. Starting at 9. How about high school?
High school is 10.
10. What?
Start 8 and finish 10 or 11 o'clock.
10 or 11.
Morning class is
Finish
5.
5. But there is some different system.
How was that system different?
The teacher be director, become director, and then students have to stay in class to study something.
So you can't go home.
Yeah, we can't leave the class, and then we have to study ourselves. We can choose the subject, what we want to study. We can choose, but we can't go home until the time.
Why? Why can't you just go home? I mean, you're finished school. You finished your regular classes. Why can't you just go home?
That's rule.
Whose rule?
School's rule.
The school's rule?
Yeah.
And who do you think?
They give the chance, choose you want stay or want to go home. But it just very formal and just from. The teacher forced us to stay class. If we choose we want to go home, teacher call me and ask, why do you want to go home? Why did you not to study? Why didn't you study?
Yeah. Why did you stay and study?
Yeah. And scolding.
So they give you a choice, but they don't give you a choice.
Yeah. Actually, there is no choice. Just outside there is choice, but actually there is no such choice.
So kind of like
they make me stay.
They make you stay. So
tutoring.
Sorry. Torture.
Yeah, it's kind of
that. So you have all of that. You're in school in high school until 10 or 11 p.m. and then you go home and go to sleep.
That's very lucky case.
That's a lucky case.
Some bad case, they have to go to academy.
So
after finish,
we have to go academy until 12 or overtime.
So you in high school, you start at 8 and you stay until 5 and you get the choice to go home, but not really.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
fake.
And then after that, you have to go to an academy
Yeah.
until say 12 or 1 in the morning.
2 a.m.
2 a.m. What time did you go to sleep, Marvin, in high school?
Usually 2,
2 o'clock. And what time did you wake up?
6.
So you get 4 hours of sleep.
Almost
High school.
Almost all high school students. And how many days a week did you go to school? Just 5 days, right?
The form.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, we have to go to school just 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
5 days, 6 days. But on weekend,
Mm-hmm.
the teacher called all students to make them study.
So if you want to go home during the week, you can, but if you go home, they call you and say, why aren't you studying? So you go back to school.
I had to go to school,
Mm-hmm.
even though it was Sunday.
So it's very possible for high school students to study 7 days a week.
Yes.
There is no rest. Even vacation period, we had to go to school to study.
Even during vacation.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's all preparation for the university exam.
And there's such a huge emphasis on education. Yeah. And getting educated. And I recently read an article, and I think I still have it. Somebody posted it on Facebook. Oh, okay.
It was a news article about how it compared South Korea, how 90-something% of people in, no, that's the wrong one, like 93% of people are high school graduates. But what they kind of leave out is that, and this is one thing that I found out talking to university students, is that there is no fail. It's show up and you move up. Elementary school, first grade. How do you get to second grade? Do you take a test or no?
Just time to go naturally.
And naturally, so when the year finishes, then your teacher says, "Oh, you're good. You can go up." No.
Just 1 grade.
Mm-hmm.
Every year's one
Up one. So, does anyone ever get held back? Meaning, first grade, you can't go to second grade. You have to stay one more year. No.
There is in case if we didn't absent the class too much time, yeah, you can
stay. Because you're from a small school or a small city, a medium city, and 2 big cities, but you're all at this school. Did you choose to come to Gongju?
Yeah, I choose.
Oh, you chose?
University.
Okay, so what about you, Dan? Did you choose to go to Gongju, or how did you get to Gongju? You chose. Okay, Marvin, what about you? Inevitable?
Yeah.
But why inevitable?
I'm not good student.
What do you mean you're not a good student?
My
제가 묻는 거는
When he was the high school, his grade was not good. So we take the test to go to university. So we get some point. about the test. So if we have high the score, we can go every university. But we have the low score, we have to choose. Like this university. This university is not in the city.
Okay.
It's a small city.
Small city.
Big, which the university is big city. They need good score.
A good score on like a good score in high school or just on the test?
High school is
also.
University have a level.
Okay. So you mean like there's say a low level university, medium level university, and high level university? What is the highest level university? Seoul National?
Yeah, Seoul National University is the most difficult to go.
Really?
Yeah.
So, can you choose to go to Seoul National?
If I have
I
high
can
score,
try.
You try.
It never happened.
Why would it never happen?
The score
The
was
score?
bad.
Okay, so your score wasn't very good.
Yeah.
And you're at Gongju, but you chose Gongju.
Yeah.
Did you have many universities to choose from? Oh, okay, but they were all the same level.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
You can choose same level like Gongju, Chungju.
And then we send our some resume to university, and so they check our
They look at your score
score and behavior of in school. My teacher just wrote something, and they think I'm good. They give the chance to get meeting with them.
to have an interview. It seems to me that once you start to hit middle school, it's like the test determines where you go. Like, okay, you have this score, you go to this middle school. You have this score, you go to this middle school. University, and the job is the same.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's why mommies are crazy about their children, the education.
About education, and was it the same for you, or was it more of your mom and dad said, oh well, you can go, you can do this if you want, or you can do this, or was it more of you better get a good score?
I think both. Yeah, parents want their children to have happy life, or they want to help their children their best. So just to support them. They want to offer everything they can do.
Yeah. So, I mean, and then you. Well, how do you feel about that, Ben? As far as like the, do you feel like the test from say middle school ultimately determines your job, your status in the.
Yeah, I think I think that's where it kind of starts from. Yeah, there's a kind of like pride in Korea of, if you're from a university, a particular university, then you're gonna. Yeah, it's an important part of your life. It's part of your status. Yeah, I mean it affects who you're gonna be friends with, right?
Yeah.
Your job and your university kind of determine who you are. I'd say in Korea a lot. It's yeah, right. That's what. Like doctors will be doctors, will be friends with doctors, and doctors will be held in high esteem by people. They won't find out your personality. Well, they may well find your personality out later, but if they find out you're a doctor, then they'll be in awe of you. So, and probably the same if you went to Seoul National University. If you're a Seoul National University graduate, then people will immediately hold you in high esteem.
Yeah, I think it's the same in other countries too, like most of American politics.
politicians.
Politicians are like from Harvard Law School or something.
Yeah, that's the same with us in Britain. Yeah, they're all Oxford experience. And I might be completely wrong, but I think status is way more important.
I kind of wonder, like, once you get on like a bad track or good track, how hard it is to kind of recover and get on the right track. I mean, if you have bad middle school scores, you go to like a bad high school, can you go like get good scores and somehow get to the good high school or the good college? I feel like in America, like, you know, if you change your ways at any point in your life, you know, you start working really hard, you can go to like community college, you get good grades there, you can go to good four-year school, you know. But I wonder if in Korea, you know, you start doing bad in middle school when you're just a kid, if that really has lasting effects on like what job you'll get ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, like, is it? Let's say there's a student that doesn't do very well in middle school, so they don't do very well going into high school. How in let's say they have to go to, let's say they go to Gongju once they take the test to get into university. Is it possible for them to transfer and like get really good grades in Gongju and then transfer to like Seoul National
For a master's or something?
Or even just in general, is it possible?
Yeah, it's possible, but it's like it's not gonna be happening.
Why wouldn't it happen?
Because the university is already full of the students, so they don't need to look for another students. That's good. Both said it's okay. We can do it's possible, but they are really looking for another students.
So, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I know many people who in middle school were like awful students, and but you're still like so young at that point, and over time they've matured and really got their act together and have become very successful now. And I just wonder how likely or how possible that would be in a system like this where the test is very important and it sounds like you get on one track or the other. I really don't know much about it, but just through this conversation, I'm a little bit interested.
And then
and that's if you're right and you are unable to do it, then it's wrong, isn't it?
I think so, just because you're so young when this kind of starts. I know when I was like 11, 12 years old, like going to school, I really was more interested in causing trouble and like having fun than worried about like what college I'll get into, what kind of job I'll have, and things like that. It seems like it just starts very early, like what kind of career path you'll take.
I know, it does.
You know, when we teach class, we teach class at the university level, I've found that most of my students cannot communicate, but they start learning English in the third, fourth grade, and they learn English from third grade on through high school, yet they cannot communicate.
So you think their communication skills are lagging behind their own grammar skills or written English skills? Is that what you mean?
Well,
because they've concentrated on that more, because that's what you need to pass the exams.
I think that they focus so much on the test that they don't do, like, when we learned English, we're native English speakers, when we learned English, we were always involved in it, and we had practical experience. But in Korea, it seems like they only have experience learning what's going to be on a test. And so when they get to the university level, and we're teaching a conversation class, they can't have a conversation.
But why is English any different to any other subject in school? I mean, it's not their first language. There's no, like you talked about you learning English, but you have to learn English.
Right.
Whereas they've got no more reason to learn English than they do history or French, or not French, but you know, politics or
right.
Science or something like that. So,
Right.
and all those other subjects are really geared towards passing tests, really, aren't they?
How do you feel like it affects education, like general education? Well, I mean, I think that you really are forced to teach how, not so much for learning, but to get through the test. Because, I mean, honestly, for most of the people here, how often are they going to have to really
What's
use
the purpose? Because they're not going to really have a reason, incentive, in my opinion. So why do it?
Yeah, to get a job, people have an interview and they have a paper test, and then they have an interview. And English is very one of the most important skill for the interview.
What makes it so important?
I don't know,
It's just a global language where you can talk to someone from any country and chances are they might know English. You might not need to know Chinese or you know, any other language, but chances are you have the one language in common, so it's important. If you know English, you can communicate with people from all over the world, not just America, not just England or Australia, but also people from countries that don't have it as a first language, maybe it's their second language.
I've always found that because people learn English, they need to know English because the world is obviously international, and English is the language of business, and because the top 3 languages in the world are Mandarin Chinese, Spanish, and English. Obviously Chinese because there are so many people. And I think because I think Korea is becoming more multicultural, and they want to advance and be able to stay together and work with other companies around the world to increase the economy in Korea, and they're kind of forced into it, into the communicative.
Yeah, but I mean, you're talking like this is a new thing that they're becoming. I mean, the likes of Samsung and LG and Kia and Hyundai, these have been enormous monster companies, internationally renowned. They sell overseas for the last 30 years. This is not something they're forced into doing now. I mean, they've always been.
Well, yeah, they've always been, but it's only over, I think, maybe the past 20 or so years that Korea's economy has just skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Continues to grow, as opposed to like with America or Scotland or native English speaking countries. We've been doing that, and so I think it's in Korea's interest to be able to kind of keep up with their own rate of growth.
Yeah.
Whereas before they didn't have the, it wasn't necessary, but now that they have these huge companies like Samsung and LG, and then it's in order for them to kind of catch up. But
I think English isn't alone in that. I think it's just a general drive on high level towards higher levels of education across the board, not just in English. I mean, English is just one of those subjects that's like a highly regarded subject, like maths is. Maths is a highly regarded subject. In Korea, Korean is, and the sciences. You know, there's that's the kind of, that's what jobs look for. That's what universities look for.
Right.
And it's just part of that group, and that's why there's such a strong emphasis on children learning English, I'd say. You know, you study English in school, and it gives you a basis, a kind of a background, and yeah, you can learn more beyond that, and you can study it at university, for example. If you're interested in English, and you can do it, you can take it further if you want to. But I mean, I don't think an education system can prepare you for
everything.
No, of course not. No, I don't think so. I mean, it's just there to give you the kind of backbone, and
a basis.
Yeah, a basis from which, if you want to, you can take it further. Throughout this discussion, I'm thinking about when I was at high school and middle school, and I was studying French as my second language, and I never really got the impression that what I was learning there was for the purpose of you know, internationally communicating with French people necessarily. It was more just a kind of, I don't know, just another skill to learn more, really, just to develop me. Another part of my learning, I thought it was more.
Do you think that the system, the way it's designed, will reach its objective?
Well, don't you agree that the objectives are quite good, aren't they?
Yeah,
the objectives aren't the problem, right? The objectives are...
Right, I think
that is very heavily
yeah.
written towards communication. It's all, right?
Right, that's the objective. But the question is the system accomplishing that? This is the public schools is saying that their objective is to make kids, or students, enjoy English.
These goals might be very high, but they kind of have to set high goals. They're not going to say lower type of things. I think that a country's kind of success or economic, output or whatever you want to say, is very closely linked to English speaking as a second language. And I think just Korea's growth over the past 2 decades or whatever is kind of evidence that it is kind of working. I mean, are the students happy? Probably not. But I think that it is kind of preparing them, at least some of them, for
a full year is about 34 weeks. And the students have English 3 to 4 times a week for quote-unquote an hour. And what they learn from the curriculum, some of it's useful, but by the time they get to us, most of them cannot communicate what it, for the students that have gone abroad or gone into Hagwons, they have at least some communicative ability.
Are you talking about by the time they get to you, as in you in your university?
In my university class.
You also bear in mind the level of your university. You're gonna, you're because the universities are determined by your score in that final test. You're not going to get children who have scored well in English.
I feel like none of the students that I teach have gone to Hagwon, and I think maybe 1 or 2 have actually gone to an English-speaking country to learn English. I don't think any of them have gone to Hagwon that I teach.
Yeah, at our level.
At our university, different universities definitely have Hagwon students.
The thing about Korea is, I don't know the stat, but I think it's about 90 or 85% of students, high school graduating students, go to university, whereas in Scotland I think it's under 40% of students go to university. And so this level of students that are in our university, if they were put in Scotland, they'd probably be learning a trade. They wouldn't be going to university. They'd never. They'd stop studying English at the age of 17 and be done with it. But it's just because of the system that they're put into this university and they're still learning English. Even though, what is the point? They're not high-level students. It's not part of their major, and that's why we get a level that is. I compared it to elementary school level for a lot.
Has an individual English book for each grade level, and the students are expected to memorize the English book. So before I start class, I have to have them pull out their little English book, and I ask them a new question: "How are you today?" Most students say "fine," and we encourage them not to use the word "fine." They have to answer in a different way, like "I'm hungry," "I'm sad." But the main curriculum for elementary school is mainly just vocabulary for the lower grades, so that they can build up their knowledge of English words. Once you hit 5th and 6th grade, that's when you start teaching grammar and what a noun is and what an adjective is. And because most kids at my school go to Hagwons, like English Hagwons, or they stay after school for English class, they can follow along in these textbooks to recognize what a noun is and what a predicate is. But many of the students who don't attend English Hagwons or any kind of after-school English class, they're completely lost. They don't know what's going on. And the Korean classes are set up to where, like, if you're behind, oh well, you stay behind, we just keep moving forward. So if you don't understand something, then you're left out.
Actually, it was interesting you mentioned the kids have to memorize. And I remember I went to the Cheongnam, the overall province covering Asan, Cheonan, Gyeongju, Gwangju, Yesan, all these different areas, and the provincial meeting or whatever between the semesters. They had the superintendent of Cheongnam went up to give speech, and he said that when we teach English to the kids, that we should just memorize the book. The students just memorize the book, and that was fine, and that was okay. It was a perfect way to learn, because that's how he learned English, as he did his entire speech in Korean. When they're memorizing these phrases, and focusing on like grammar and stuff like that, do you think that helps children accomplish the goal that they have in the curriculum?
No, because one of the objectives were to have confidence in what they were speaking, and if they're just memorizing, when an English teacher asks them a question and it has a word in the question that they don't recognize, it completely throws off their answer. So if I were to reword "how are you" and instead say "what was your day like today? Do you feel okay?" That's not the same thing that they've been wired to understand to answer. They're used to hearing "how are you?" So if I present a question in a different way, they completely lose all confidence in how they're supposed to respond, because it's not what they were memorized, like what they were.
Because I am from a non-native English-speaking country. That's basically how we started. We have to memorize vocabularies. It's the number one, because the English language has so much vocabulary. It has really titanic, or so much. I mean, the English dictionary could be this much, and this could be this big and this thick. So basically that's how we build confidence, by memorizing vocabulary and grammar as well. But so maybe that's the reason why they incorporate that method in teaching here in Korea. Because as a non-native English speaker, that's how I learned. Although I understand your point that in conversational English, it is important that you do not memorize, because we can just talk like I am reading a book. It doesn't sound normal. But I think what Koreans lack is that they don't have much interest in practicing conversational English. Because here in Korea, almost everything is in Korean. They even have a term for an electric fan. They have a term for a refrigerator. So when they're at home, they use these terms. They don't use English terms. Or maybe they use Konglish. However, the Konglish like coffee becomes coffee. Well, the way they speak it, it's still not English.
Yeah. There's not really a huge necessity. It's not necessary for Koreans to learn English because they're not going to speak it. But why is there such an emphasis on learning English?
Well, because number one reason is globalization. Like me, for example, I'm working in an international pharmaceutical company. So basically here in Korea, they're competitive enough to prepare documents. My colleagues are competitive enough to deal with the requirements of FDA, of Korean FDA. However, since because of globalization, they have to learn English, because if we want to submit documents abroad, it has to be in English. Everything has been in English. And based on what I have observed among my colleagues as well, is that they are competitive in their arena, in their major, especially if it's in Hangumal. However, the problem arises when they have to do things, they have to translate things, they have to translate the documents in English. And basically, especially in my field, in pharmaceutical industry, which is quite big here in Korea, is that because of globalization, the requirements among every country becomes one. The requirements among countries are being harmonized. And because of that harmonization, the requirements now are in English. And so my colleagues have to learn the terminologies in English. And even though they have graduated from college or their respective universities, still they are studying English because of that reason. It's a requirement in their environment.
I think part of the thing, this is just my idea, is the success of Korea globally as an economic power is very new to them, right? I mean, so I think it's they still have living memories of being dirt poor. You tell your students, talk to your grandparents about what it was like when they were growing up. It's like, oh, my dad ate nothing and just drank water to stay full. I've talked to them and stuff like that, and it's like, I think it's so new that's why they have that push of study. Don't let them take it away. Korea's, talking to my wife, we talked about this before, is Korea's idea of to stay who they are, to stay up top, one of the top levels is
education.
Just to keep learning, keep studying. Don't let them take it away. And what does America worry about is that we're getting stupider and everyone's passing us.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but for them, they don't want to get it taken away,
Yeah. Yeah,
Look
well,
at
it was.
culture,
That's what
look
it
at
was.
everything.
That's what it was. Is Ben's wife actually mentioned that? She said that after the Korean War, the only thing that got them out of that hole was education, and so there became this.
That's not the only thing.
Well, yeah, but it was.
It's what sustained them.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it was. And education had a big impact on them growing and getting out of that rut and advancing, and then of course that just kind of built up, and eventually in the in the 80s they just boom, just skyrocketed.
Technology,
technology, everything, and and so it's very overwhelming. This whole global thing is they've been this isolated society,
right?
And so now they're being, in order to keep, as you said, in order for them to keep what they've obtained, they have to advance, but they're not used to it yet.
Right.
And so
it's the growing pains.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. They're changing.
If you could change like one thing about the system in general, like the whole system, the whole Korean education system, what would you change?
I guess it would be like this magical test that kind of gets you into certain colleges, just because as far as I'm aware, you only get one chance at it. I don't know if you can retake it, kind of like SATs. If you do bad, you can take it again and again.
They have to wait 1 year.
I think they can do it the following year.
Yeah, but they do only get one. It's the test is given once a year, but if they fail the test, then they're in limbo for an entire year.
Yeah, just like the stress that kind of comes with that, and almost it feels like a loss of childhood when I teach some of these kids who, if they're not at Hagwon, they're at piano lessons. If they're not there, they're at swimming lessons, or it seems like they never have time to just play and be kids. And I think that one thing leads to another, and eventually they're taking this test. Everything kind of boils down to that. If you take the test away, maybe a lot of other things will change because of that. But I mean, that's the only thing I've changed, and I don't even know if it's really a terrible thing, because it does seem like it produces some kind of results. But maybe they could change certain aspects of the test, or I don't know. It's just very different than what I would be accustomed to as an American. What I grew up kind of preparing myself for. It's very different than Korea. So that's what I would change.
What about you, Ben? What would you change?
I don't know. I've thought about it for a while, and just when you analyse the whole cycle from elementary school to middle school to high school to university, then to job, and then to being a parent and raising the child, and it continues. I want the children to have more freedoms and free time and less pressure, but just because of the cycle, if you give them all of those things, I just feel they are gonna lose out, because other families are going to send their children to Hogwarts, and as long as you've got this competition structure, if you, I don't know, everybody needs to change at the same time for anything to be different. Otherwise, anyone who takes their children out of Hogwarts and says, hey, just go and play in the park every night this week, then by the time they get to the test, then it's probably that student that's going to lose out to the guy who got extra. So, in conclusion, I don't know. I don't know what.
I guess it's just the competition that's like institutionalized.
Yes, remove the institutionalized competition.
Employ the test.
Just get rid of the test, or maybe make it not so important.
I try to give
important is
skill,
ability.
So you think that they should, the first thing they should do is not focus so much on the test, focus more on skill and ability.
I want to get rid of test, and then I will make the license system, and then I try to give some choice to run what they want to run.
So more freedom of choice.
Not up to the grade. If I'm elementary student, and then I want to draw paint, I will give choice. Learn how to more.
So give people more freedom to do what they like, not be told you must do this.
Not test, and
Not
just
testing.
license.
Not license.
License.
Because
Changing is difficult.
and Korean, like Korean.
So not much flexibility, not really open to change.
Korean don't feel
Yes.
that important to English.
They don't think English is important.
Thai people doesn't like change something.
Okay. So people that are up, if they don't want change, it's not going to change.
Change is put for under people, not high people, because high people already is high. They are enough.
They don't have to do anything else. They're at the top. They stay at the top.
Change is necessary for under people because they want to go to high. So they need change to go to high.
I would change the learning style. Korea doesn't really accommodate students who learn in different styles, like kids who are kinesthetic learners. They don't give them activities that would help them best learn. Or kids who learn better visually, like the lesson plans aren't made so that those students can benefit from it. So I would change the way that teachers give their curriculum, like the way that they present the curriculum in a manner that they look to the different students in their classes and identify how that student would learn best and how that student would learn best, and then create activities for them so that they can do better on these tests and so that they do acquire the information and that they don't get left behind as they're studying for the big test that they have to take.
So they need, you're thinking intervention, some sort of intervention and more communicative language teaching, more CLT. Okay. Sherry, what would you change?
But I think what is important is to develop the student's ability to be interdependent, to be dependent on one another. Because basically that's what life is. Not what I can do only, because what I can do in a company is not the most important thing. What all of us can do and what I can do so that the whole team in our department will be able to achieve a common goal. And I think that is what's lacking in the Korean system. It's all about independence. They should focus more on about being interdependent.
And the only actual change is a slow generational change.
You have to have some sort of gauge, but I think there's too much emphasis on the test. And it's like you mentioned, is there has to be change. And I think it has to be a gradual change because they're stuck in that cycle. There's the overall cycle, and if the kids or the parents go through and they have kids and their kids have kids, and it's just this never-ending cycle.
Yeah, you have parents who've experienced it all, hated it all, but have no choice but to make their own children
Go
do
through
it again.
again.
Yeah, because they just really don't have a choice.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that's missing is choice.
In Scotland, if you're really good at art and rubbish at maths and science, but you're really good at art or the arts, drama, music, things like that, there's a career path for you, a respectable career path. You can get a respectable place at university by going down that path. If you're into your maths, then you can go down that path. If you're into your English or your foreign language or whatever, you can go down that path. Whereas in Korea, they kind of assess you, are you good or not good?
Right.
Is the kind of assessment for me in Korea. And so yes, if you're really good, then you're at this university. If you're quite good, then... Whereas it's not actually finding out the skills of these particular people. I don't think the education system does that enables students to go down their true path that they really want to go to. They're kind of forced into...
That's exactly what my students said when I spoke to them. They said the exact same thing. There's no choice. And I asked them, what to change, and the first thing they said was about the testing, give more freedom.
I think more freedom should be allotted to.
No, I agree. Kids being kids, like you see the little kids with these book bags, and I mean they're full.
Oh yeah,
I mean, these are little kids, you know, and you know I know you have a kid, and I have a kid on the way. You know, me and my wife, we talk about it now. You know, the good thing was she's not a really big proponent of Hagwons, and
right.
You know, and she's like, you know, so we talk about the American style, the Korean style, and the one thing she says is, you know, our baby's going to be lucky because, you know, has both. So hopefully her brains, but, you know, the idea of freedom, of what you said, of, you know, going to school, getting school over with, and then, you know, it's not like we came home and just watched TV.
Right.
You know, most kids, and I don't know of too many kids who didn't do something.
Right.
You know, after school. You know, sound like a grandfather. Back in my day,
yeah,
we didn't go home and play Xbox. But you know, it's the idea of doing something other than studying to make yourself more of a well-rounded person.
Right.
And you know, are we well-rounded? You know, I think we're more. Like I said before, we need to kind of push it back a little bit.
Yeah.
But you know, then on the Korean side, it's that straightforward. Just do the test, do it this way, this way, this way.
Right.
And you know, but they are becoming more, you know, free. I mean, we got a huge department store. You know, they're buying their Louis Vuittons and stuff like that. So things are changing. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.